Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition and a cultural bon vivant that you can supply to sad Americans within your Dungeons & Dragons campaign based on sadness that is being produced IRL, all right? So I'll summarize this, right? Space oligarchs moving to control space is upsetting Americans. This is definitely happening, okay? And they're upset because they see oligarchs moving to control space, and it makes them sad, right? And in our Dungeons & Dragons game, we can give campaigns that invert this, that allow people who are upset by oligarchs moving to control space, or the perception of that perception, we could do the opposite. Now, what would the Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition opposite of space oligarchs moving to control space, right? Like Moon, Mars, Leo, low Earth orbit, right? What would be the opposite of this? Well, it would be your adventurers, you running a campaign for woke liberals generally who are upset by space oligarchs, right? By oligarchs moving to control space. And you could supply a very calming inversion of this by allowing their adventurers to bring peasants into the astral plane. That would be the inversion, right? So let's talk about the IRL situation that's causing American sadness, and certainly a number of American dungeon masters and American players. So why do I believe this is making them sad? Well, I listened to Russell Brand. He's a philosopher queen who, I'm just using the word queen there, not because he identifies as female, but just, a lot of people say philosopher king. I'm trying to, philosopher king's a super dope title, right? So I want to just share the love across the different genders, right? So philosopher queen. So he's a philosopher queen who has a huge amount of followings, many of which are super smart, super educated, super wealthy Americans. So Russell Brand is a British philosopher queen who has a fantastic YouTube channel, and he pontificates on American politics, on a lot of American politics, and international politics, right? And he recently did a fantastic YouTube, essentially like a YouTube article, a YouTube piece, a YouTube video that talked about oligarchs moving to control space. Now, first of all, who's he talking about here? He was very directly calling, in my opinion, Richard Branson, Jeff Bezos, and Elon Musk oligarchs. Now, I don't agree with that. I think they're just baller capitalists, right? So, potato, right? Russell Brand calls them oligarchs. I call them baller capitalists, right? And so basically, he's saying, and he's got a point here, right? There's no question. Elon Musk, Russell Brand, Elon Musk, Richard Branson, and Jeff Bezos are all moving to gain some percentage control of space. No two ways about it, right? So where are they at in this race? So Richard Branson is leading the race. He just went into space, right? He went to the edge of space, which I think is like Leo, low Earth orbit, right? So Richard Branson went to the edge of space, and there was a lot of talk about him being an astronaut and so forth. So he's farthest out, right? Jeff Bezos has announced his intention to go to space, right? And then last, Elon Musk, to my knowledge, has never even announced any intention to go to space, but he very directly controls who will be going to space through SpaceX, right? He has some say in that, right? And so he will decide who the modern astronauts will be. So these three baller capitalists are definitely moving to control space. That might be as little as 1%, or it might be 99%, but they're definitely moving to control space. I agree with Russell Brand on that, right? So I don't agree with the term oligarch, but I definitely agree that Richard Branson, Jeff Bezos, and Elon Musk are absolutely making moves to control some percentage of space, okay? So now, and here's the thing. This made Russell Brand very upset, and I'm certainly certain that it makes a good portion of his American followers upset, right? So that and since he has super smart, super wealthy, super engaged, creative followers, there's no possibility that there aren't DMs and Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition DMs and players in that group. So I think, just like Russell Brand, there is a distinct number of American dungeon masters and American players that are upset that oligarchs are moving to control space, right? So you can show an act of kindness to woke, liberal dungeon masters and players, right? And offer a game that inverts the space oligarchs, right? The space-controlling oligarchs, and allow Dungeons & Dragons adventurers to take peasants into the astral plane, right? Generally, traditionally in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, astral plane travel has only been for the wealthy class, for the adventurers, right? Adventurers aren't poor. You know what they're paid in? They're paid in gold. Literal gold coins, right? So for a long time in these Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition campaigns, we've been allowing the wealth class to go to the astral plane, but peasants have not been taken to the astral plane, right? But you can create a Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition campaign for super woke liberal DMs and super woke liberal players that would assuage the tears they have over the space controlling oligarchs that are emerging, right? And you can invert it, and you can allow the peasant class, the non-wealthy class within Dungeons & Dragons in 5th edition, to become astral plane travelers, right? So the reality is, I do get what Russell Brand is saying. It's highly unlikely any poor people are ever going to space in even the next 100 years, right? I doubt, there ain't going to be, cheap tickets to space anytime soon, right? I think right now, people are buying tickets at $250,000, right? And even that, you don't even know if you're going to be going anytime soon, right? But what I'm saying is that I think, so while in our real world, in IRL, the super woke liberals definitely have reason for tears, because, the reality is they're right. I don't think there are going to be many poor people up in space anytime soon. But that can happen in our Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition game, right? And that can assuage the pain that super liberal dungeon masters and super woke liberal players are feeling. Well, actually, you could be a conservative DM and give this to super woke liberal Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition players, right? And actually DMs too. They can just become players, right? So, but you can give this a nice, I would say 3 to 7 session campaign where adventurers do nothing more than bring peasants into the astral plane. Now, what would the peasants do once they got into the astral plane? Well, what they would do is they would then interact and see the auras of the things they've seen in the mundane world. And that's really interesting, because the auras of things on the astral plane show truth, right? It shows the emotional resonance. It shows the alignment resonance of these different items. So things that they thought might have been good or even neutral might appear to be evil, and they'll get the truth of it once they're in the astral plane, because they can see the things that they saw in their mundane life on the astral plane, and then see the alignment truths of that thing, the emotional truths of that thing, and that, there's some real value in that, right? And I think, and why should that be only for, the rich, wealthy Dungeons & Dragons adventurers, right? Why shouldn't that expand all the way down to dirt poor peasants? I think, we have this ability to fix in D&D what cannot be fixed in IRL, right? There ain't no poor people going to space anytime soon, in my opinion, right? But we can certainly send peasants into the astral plane in our Dungeons & Dragons game. And maybe that will inspire people like Elon Musk and Richard Branson and Jeff Bezos to put some seats on those space flights for super poor people in England and in America. Right? We got two space baller capitalists in America, but they only got one over in England. Right? I don't know if China has any yet. I don't know. Does anybody know where Jack Ma is? I don't know. I think they found him again. Right? all that's my opinion. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.